Hey, welcome back, Forum, to part 2 of the Brendon O'Connell interview that gets into the juicy bits. That exposes the Israeli infiltration into Australia, into our military, into our police forces, into our governments. And here, without any further ado, is the interview with Simon Pallister and Brendon O'Connell. Hope you enjoy this just as much as I do.
Hey Brendon, during the trial, you had a certain chucklehead appear on the TV screen. Can you tell us all about Rabbi?
There was a few of them.
Oh, a few chuckleheads. Yeah. Can you tell us about specifically Rabbi David Freilich?
Rabbi David Freilich.
Isn't he a mate of yours that you have beers with on the weekend?
Rabbi David Freilich.
Who is he?
The Orthodox Jewish nut from the local synagogue. Wow, God. There were a few world's first happened at this trial in good old Western Australia. I like how God works. He often works at the arsehole end of the earth, because Jerusalem 2,000 years ago was the arsehole end of the earth, and you could probably say Perth, Western Australia is the arsehole end of the earth as well. The most isolated regional city in Australia, or in the world. Listen, boy, some very interesting things came out of that. Now that was the only transcript that was disappeared out of my hands and then given to me the next day as they edited it and carried on. But I had a Pharisee. And I loved it when I even said to Rabbi David Freilich, who said, we are a race, we are a race. I said, so, you know, even when I'm a Swahili witch doctor and I convert to Orthodox Judaism, I'm now part of the Jewish race. And they said, yep. It doesn't matter how ludicrous it sounded, they just wanted to, you know, that's what they believe or say they believe. But he said some very interesting things. One of the ones was I wanted to entrap him and I was rubbing my hands with glee. And I might add before this, the two main witnesses they brought in, Professor Andrew Marcus and Rabbi David Freilich, were totally inadmissible hearsay evidence. And we knew this. I'd spoken with my lawyer, John Bowder, before this. But the chance to get these two chuckleheads on the record was too much to pass up. So I said, no, let's let them get on the stand. So we did. Rabbi David Freilich said many things. First thing I wanted to do was to discredit him in front of the jury by doing this simple thing. I wanted to point out that's why I asked him, are you a Pharisee like in Jesus' time? And David Freilich looked at the camera and went, yes. Which doesn't come across in the transcript at all. I think it's been noticed. But he said, you know, yes. I said, and Judge Wisby, that's 80-year-old fool, he was onto it immediately. He knew what I was going to do. What I was going to do is go, oh really? What I'd like to say, truth is a part of this. Let's just see what Jesus had to say about you. And I was going to go, sons of your father the devil, children of hell, you know, ye compass sea and land to make one proselyte, then make him twice the child of hell as yourselves. Meaning, you go all over the place to make one convert to Judaism, then you make him twice as bad as what you are. I mean, all quotes from the Bible. He calls them shocking things, all right?
You're saying Jesus does?
Jesus does. And I want to say he calls you the liar and the father of lies. So you've got no credibility. Get the F off the stand. Mung bean, chucklehead. And he was live from Jerusalem at that stage, from the Israeli Supreme Court building in Jerusalem, you know, with the all-seeing eye and the pyramid cut to that. So a lot of very interesting things said, but he got very upset and he goes, oh, well, I had no idea I'd be asked these questions. So I said, Rabbi, what's wrong? Don't you want to talk about your faith? This is relevant background. You know, he was protected. All of them were protected at all stages by Wisby, non-stop. Wisby was like this, like his hand up, ready to pounce to shut me down. It was pretty funny. And when you watch other court cases and see how those judges behave and how they let the lawyers go and question and they make witnesses answer questions and stop avoiding, they never did any of that. They just shut me down at every chance they got. Rabbi David Freilich was fascinating, and we have that all on video. And we'll put a few still shots up. And I warned the Supreme Court, you're not getting this footage. It's all ready to go and it'll be posted if anything happens to me. We warned you we had all this footage. And you deleted some off my hard drive, but you don't realise that before I went to jail, I copied it all and sent it far, far away. So, yeah, that's another thing. They mess with a lot of my computer stuff and so on and so forth. Regardless, we're going to compare transcripts to the audio. We haven't had a chance to go into that. I actually have barely looked at my stuff. I've just been so busy trying to survive and get by. I haven't had a chance to relax and do stuff. Because they've been entering the house, and we'll probably enter this house, no doubt, at some stage. But Rabbi David Freilich was fascinating. Professor Andrew Marcus was fascinating. What an arrogant twat. Professor of Jewish studies, you know, they're so important. They've got to have Jewish civilization studies. Watching him, the hypocrite, you know, 1 minute he does not sure about Joan Peters, and then the next minute you saw that last night, and the next minute he's there defending her, and suddenly he does know stuff about it, and it was pretty funny, you know, dissing Professor Shlomo Sand, and you know, it's funny, you know. Look, they couldn't lie straight in fucking bed. Let's be frank. You know, what was the Merchant of Venice? He says, "Why argue with a Jew?" In one might ask why. One might ask the wolf why the ewe bleats for the lamb, or bid the tide not to rise higher. It's hopeless. They lie. Stanley Keyser stood on that stand and just lied and lied and lied. And he said things like, "Oh, Your Honour, oh, I don't understand." See, he was beautiful. He was so well trained. He just played dumb. And funny stories about Stanley. You know, a couple of times I said to him, "Mate, Stanley, I'm looking at 4 years jail. The least you can do is answer my questions." And he said, "It's not 4 years, it's 14. I hope you get more." That's how he said it in the courtroom. I just go, this guy.
For making a YouTube video.
I wanted to get up and knock him out. I actually leant against the table like this to stop myself.
You're saying this little cretin...
He's a creep.
He wanted you to go away for more than 14 years.
Yeah, he wanted more.
For making a YouTube video.
No, he comes to us, stalks us, gets photographed, makes a fool of himself, and then claims a victim. Yeah. I mean, you can't make this shit up. You can't make it up. Out on the court, and cut to the video of him out on the out in front of the court. Now watch this.
A Perth man who posted an anti-Jewish video on the internet has been jailed for 3 years. The victim of the racist rant says the sentence isn't long enough.
This is the racist video that shocked Perth's Jewish community.
Your days are numbered, and we're going to rescue as many of your victim cult members as we can.
2 young Jewish men bullied relentlessly the 15-minute rant posted on YouTube.
You are racist, homicidal maniacs.
Today, the man responsible, Brendon O'Connell, was jailed for 3 years after being convicted of race hate crimes. It's believed he's the first person in the state to be found guilty under new racial vilification laws. The judge described him as a bully who has an irrational hatred of Jews. One of the men victimised in the video says O'Connell has made his life hell and that the sentence is inadequate.
Wish he was going for longer. I've been harassed continuously for the last 18 months.
But the jail term's been welcomed by the Jewish community.
I think it was a victory for decency and against bigotry and prejudice. On future occasions it could be Muslims or Asians or any group, and so we should all be happy about this result.
There was extra security in the courtroom for the sentencing. After being told he would serve 3 years in jail, O'Connell yelled out, "That's a holiday camp compared to Gaza." O'Connell will spend at least 18 months behind bars before he's eligible for parole. Tegan Sapwell at 10 News.
Alright, did you see him playing victim? I've been persecuted for 18 months. I don't know how he was persecuted. You want persecution, you want to live how I lived for 18 months. You know, he's only got the Israeli ambassador in the state of Israel backing him. I mean, look, it's so absurd. It's going to come out eventually.
So is he an Australian citizen or is he an Israeli?
No, he's an Australian citizen. He's probably got dual national Israeli citizenship, who knows.
Yeah, right.
He loves Israel so much but doesn't want to live there, you know.
Yeah, he obviously doesn't.
Want to shed blood for that state, but none of them want to live there.
Wow. Just this morning, the Royal Institute of British Architects joined the BDS campaign.
Oh, the BDS campaign, that is really gathering. I mean,
what do you think is significant about the architects?
Mate, this just shows you this is rocketing mainstream now, and this is when Israel is going to be very, very dangerous. Jewish power is going to be very dangerous. I would like to say they're probably going to split into 2 camps. You've got the pro-Israel faction and you've got the Jews who've always sort of disagreed, but yeah, we'll have Israel, and the ones who've said this is a bad idea from the beginning. You're going to see a big split go down the middle. Israeli Jews, particularly their leadership, know they're in the poo. They're probably going to get arrested on war crimes. Remember, Netanyahu couldn't go to England because he feared he was going to be arrested. War crimes, suspicion of war crimes. We have all the Orthodox and the ultra-Orthodox, and we must spend a bit of time on Rabbi Ovadia Yosef. And we'll just give an example of how sick Judaism is and how mainstream it is. Now these clowns, these chuckleheads, and there's a lot of them, they've got nowhere to go. No one's going to take him in when people understand what Orthodox Judaism is and just how sick the Orthodox and mentally ill and lunatic and criminal the ultra-Orthodox are. So they are really getting backed into a corner, and this is where they recruit their most dedicated lunatics, and they'll kill for the Israeli state, the yeshiva military academies where they recruit these clowns from, the kibbutzim where they recruit these clowns from, and they are everywhere and they kill people. Kay Griggs talks about that. Cut quickly to Kay Griggs.
Colby, I spoke with personally on the phone. 2 weeks later, he was murdered. He went to Princeton. My husband knew him. He knew my husband. He told me, Colby told me that...
Oh, this is General Colby?
No, this is William Colby, who was head of the CIA.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Who was murdered in a...
so-called boating accident.
I know exactly how that happened because, you see, the SEAL teams, SEAL Teams 6, 4, 6, and 8 are on the East Coast, and then the odd numbers are on the West Coast. And some of the people who are affiliated with the SEALs, I shouldn't say that. I'm not going to say it, but...
Well, it wouldn't be hard for a SEAL to come from underwater and tip the boat over and make sure the man's dead, that sort of thing?
The Israelis train with the SEALs. They do a lot of wet ops, murders, over here because of some sort of arrangement. The young boys I met...
They have killing teams they send out, make no mistake, don't be intimidated about it though. You've got to realise that they're back against the wall. But too bad, we've got to just go in for the kill and end the Israeli state once and for all. And the BDS movement is fantastic. You're getting these mainstream... Look at Roger Waters, one half of Pink Floyd. They wanted to pay him $10 million to play, and he basically said, go to hell, you sick, twisted bastards. I mean, he didn't hold back. I mean, he gave it, and it's catching and catching and catching. They're getting very worried. I don't know what happened with Mick Jagger's girlfriend, but I do wonder if Mick Jagger is friends with Roger Waters. And I do wonder, it's unusual for a woman to hang herself. It's not the usual choice, but I do wonder. I'm just speculating, I really have no idea, but if anyone wants to look that up, I'm curious about the timing. But anyway, that's fantastic. That BDS movement is fantastic. And once people really cotton on how sick Judaism is, it's just going to gather and gather and gather in speed.
There's one thing you said earlier that really stuck in my mind. When Pink Floyd hate you as a country, it's all over.
Yeah, when Pink Floyd hates your guts, you're finished. Without doubt, you're finished. When the flying pig hates you, you're done. You're done.
There has been a rumour circulating just recently, the researcher feels, that you are considering a speaking tour of Australia.
With what? With what? I'd love to speak.
Is that true?
No, it's not going to happen. I'm not ready emotionally. I haven't got a place to live. I'm sleeping on your couch. But one day, look, it's going to come out. My case was highly unique. What happened to me in jail was unique. What went on was unique. It's breaking out all over. Matthew Carney from Four Corners expressed a great deal of interest. That was prior to me going to jail. That's the Four Corners, one of the big investigative reporting outfits. But my story is going to go mainstream. I absolutely guarantee it. Because we'll get through some stuff today, but there's stuff I haven't even told you, mate. There was at least 5 suspicious deaths around my case. At least 5. At least 5. And when I posted before about, getting the job at Laser Mail, the mass mail out company, which just happens to distribute both the Jewish Maccabean. In fact, stay right there. Stay right there. This will put the fear of God into Steve Lieblich. My mate Steve. What's this? Why, ladies and gentlemen, it's the Jewish Maccabean paper. The very paper which Stanley Elliott Keyser claimed he was writing an article for. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 copies. Very interesting. There's all the advertisers here. All the truth. WA Jews support Israel 100%. Oh, really?
Hold on. Isn't that the company you worked for?
Yeah, Laser Mail. They distribute that. Not only do they distribute that, they distribute the Freemason paper.
Oh, you're joking.
What a coincidence. And you've seen my post about the pyramid on the side of the Perth District.
Hold on. Settle down, big fella. You're telling me you worked for the major Jewish...
That was the Holy Spirit, brother. I just used to see that place when I went past...
Let me clarify. You worked for the major Jewish publication in Western Australia.
No. It's a mass mail-out company called Laser Mail. They distribute stuff of all kinds.
I see.
The local nursing...
Including the person Jewish newspaper.
Yeah, because the guy is obviously Freemason or Jewish, and the Wednesday I got the job at lunchtime, and he was knocked off his bicycle and nearly killed 4 hours later.
Did nobody realise that you were a racist anti-Semite working there?
No, they did, because I told them in the end, and I was sacked for taking the paper. There's a woman there that no one knows what she does there, but she's obviously the overseer. It's a Freemason place run by Freemasons, Inspector Steve Jancic, we saw him in 2012 go public in December asking for new recruits on page 3 of the West Australian. That was directed at me. The police run WA, and they run it through the local Freemason Masonic Lodge here in town, which is Judaism for Gentiles. They're completely affiliated in like that with the Jewish community leaders. They take their orders from Israel. And you have the Inspector of Police who's the Master Mason, and that news article was left on my pillow at Albany Regional Prison, would you believe? When the cell door was locked.
The Freemason article.
The article out of the West Australian newspaper. And Kerry Stokes is a high-level Freemason.
Just point up there and say this article.
This article. Magic of video editing, ladies and gentlemen. Now, Kerry, so I would add, look, I've known Freemasons are very nice people. Kerry Stokes is regarded as a gentleman, a very good man, very loyal to the state of Western Australia. He owns the 7 Group, which owns the West Australian newspaper and the 7 Network. They did some very good, decent reporting on me. I need to clarify, I don't agree with Freemasonry, I don't agree with secret oaths, I don't agree with any of that stuff. Jesus says I spoke openly in the temple, and in secret I have said nothing. But I'm afraid there is a problem, because all you need is to have that level of power within your community, and then all you need is your top people to be corrupted. And then you're finished. The money pours in, and you are now a conduit into the PowerPoints of any town, any state. And that's why it's so dangerous. But the people themselves, like Kerry Stokes, he's a very nice man. And that's the point. But I'm sorry, too bad. It wasn't the Jews breaking into my house, it was the freaking Freemason bunch lodge and their mates from Campbell Barracks and the police force. Wasn't Stanley Keyser doing it. It wasn't Israeli Defence Force personnel doing it. It was local West Australians.
You feel like they've told
you. Want to betray one of your own?
They've betrayed you? You feel like they've betrayed you?
Let me give it back to you with interest. You want to work for them, you bitches? Inspector Steve Jancic, Inspector Nick Antisich, you want to work for them? Then you're going to be my bitch by the time I'm finished with it. You're going to be my bitch because I got all the fucking dirt on you. Your days are numbered. The bells toll for you, the WA Police. The bells toll for you. You are the most corrupt police service in this country, and you don't blush. If someone said to me, WA does not blush. You get caught and they do this. What are you going to do about it? Your arrogance is the end for you. We have had enough of you, and I'm meeting so many people that are so pissed off, it ain't funny. Your dodginess knows no bounds, pulling people over, stealing stuff out of their car, fake charges, just grabbing people, throwing them in vans, faking, planting evidence on them, and now you want to get control of the DNA lab in Perth? God help us, you'll be faking DNA evidence till the cows come home. God help us, and I can tell you all about the DNA lab.
And the experts?
Oh yes, there's 2 very good people run that DNA lab, and they hate the police, they're sick of the police. The staff say the police will hang over their shoulders and they will deliberately spoil DNA samples. They'll plant, steal DNA samples. They've got detectives in there, former detectives who are now working in the lab, protecting other police. They're only testing DNA on new recruits for the last 5 years, but none of the old guard will be tested. Why? Because their DNA is in all the crime scenes. Because they committed a lot of crimes. They break in, steal, thieve, deal drugs. That's bad. I'm not making this up. Commissioner Carlo Hallahan, fix your problem. And the only way it's going to be fixed is when ordinary people realise, oh, the police, every time I see a police bust of drugs, I roll on the ground in laughter and say, well, there you go, that'll all be back on the street in about 5 freaking minutes. All these police officer detectives with their bloody 16 rental property share portfolios and all the rest. Oh, police wages must be pretty good, boys. You know, and Roger Reeves wants to know where all the cocaine went. You see, remember, Australian Federal Police, you were just as bad, you were throwing the cocaine back into the water. Ton of cocaine, you were throwing kilo blocks back into the water. They were washing up on the beach for months. That was back in 2001. Roger Reeves, a ton of cocaine. How much even made it to the incinerator? Australian Federal Police, you are drug dealers. State Police, you are the drug dealers. You decide who deals the drugs. You take the bribes. You make me sick. Because you're crooks. I like a crook, because the crook is a crook. And you're the police claiming to be pious and righteous and locking people up for years when you're the biggest drug dealers yourself. And that's what makes me sick.
Pretending to be representatives.
Pretending to be pious members of the community and lecturing and wagging your finger as you better slow down, don't do 5Ks, and you better not jaywalk, and you bloody drugs, and we're going to fix. And I'm just laughing at you. I'm hearing first-hand accounts of what you do, and I'm just going, I just can't. I mean, it was bad, but I didn't know it was this bad. Shocking. Shocking. You know, 2011, Bourbon versus the state of Western Australia, where the judge acknowledges it's not the same evidence. You've swapped the high quality pills, the White Shield MDMA ecstasy pills, for some shit pills. It's not even the same evidence. It's acknowledged, and then they just carry on as if nothing has happened. You're bad. You're protected at every level, and it better stop.
Okay, now you've been through all this and you're a bit more clued in to what their legislation is and what's allowed and what's not allowed. What are your thoughts on the vilification legislation?
It's bad legislation. I don't just know. I mean, it's bad. It's totally dependent on the people applying it.
A lot of grey areas?
Oh, grey. It's one big grey, particularly Section 8. Look, they want to get rid of Section 80B, which is conduct likely to offend. Two reasons why. Likely could be anything. To offend, no one has the right not to be offended, basically. That's going to stifle everything. And that is gone, 100%. They've already repealed the Commonwealth legislation in that area. That's Section 80B, conduct likely to offend. It's gone. I've been told they are waiting for me to go to the High Court. They're literally waiting.
Waiting for you?
Waiting for me to go to the High Court to slap it all down. Section 77, that is conduct intended to incite racist animosity, that will probably stay. But my conviction would be quashed with that question. But what am I meant to do? I haven't got any money. I don't even have a place to live. WA has done nothing but absolutely stifle me every second of the way, every second of the day. You didn't even get me a place to live when I left. You lied to me, you fucking asshole.
How much is the WA government and all their services and all their departments and all their system, how much is it screwed with your life?
All day for the last 4.5 years, 18-month lead up to the trial, all day, every day, followed, harassed, cut brake lines, break-ins, smashed cars, you name it. That's the WA police at work there.
You're saying
little friends.
immeasurable?
Non-stop, they had nervous breakdown. But I was determined not to back down. They do this. Look at the UWA law professor. He's a law professor at the University of Western Australia. Just one example of how far they'll go. They don't care because they run the show and they know nothing happens. They're protected. He got in a scuffle with police. All right, it was all on CCTV. He fought the charge, rightly so, because the police messed up. There were a bunch of cowboys here. The police messed up. They had edited footage. He got the unedited footage and had it on his hard drive in his office at the University of Western Australia. So what did the WA police do? They broke into his office and took the hard drive. That was in the mainstream West Australian newspaper, okay? WA has no shame. No shame. They don't care. The police, you hear this, it's a police state. Let's just, you know, someone confiscate your bong, you know, it's a police state. But I mean, it's a real police state. The police run Western Australia, period. They run it.
Would you say on par with China?
China's better. China's better. Because you know what, in China, you know where you stand. Here, we're a bunch of sheep. We go, oh, well, I'm in a first world parliamentary democracy. I'm in a first world parliamentary democracy. Rule of court, rule of law. It's a joke. They do what they like. The judge can go, I want you to stand up, twist around 3 times. And if you don't do it, you're in contempt of court. Puts his grey book down, hits the table. He's made a ruling. He can rule whatever he likes. No, you can't present that evidence. No, you can't do this. What are you going to do? You're going to go to the Supreme Court? That's where his mates are. So you spend 20 grand going to the Supreme Court. For what? That judge in the Supreme Court is not going to diss and expose his dickhead judge mate in the lower court. They're all friends. They all drink at the same. They're all brother judges in the lodge. Okay? They're not going to do it. They're going to protect each other.
You come upon the futility of the whole justice.
Don't even enter their system. Don't even bother. You're not going to get justice. All right? You need people on your side, and you better have a team because they will screw with you night and day. They will plant evidence. They will do whatever. The only chance you got is to get to the High Court, which is a very good High Court. Everyone agrees this is one of the best High Courts in Australia's history. Chief Justice Peter French is actually a West Australian boy, born and bred. And he's very good, and they hate WA. They have had enough of WA. But if you've got 20 to 40 grand to get to the High Court, good luck. But if you get in and you're accepted and you're granted leave to appeal, you've got a 90% chance of success. They throw out WA's cases so often, it's become a joke. But what happens? Nothing. No one gets a fine. The judge doesn't get rebuked. He doesn't get a stern talking to. He doesn't get in the paper and embarrassed for his stupid decisions or his corrupt decisions. Nothing happens. There's no consequences. That's why they don't care. And the worst thing that'll happen is they'll just go and get a job at the International Criminal Courts of The Hague. I mean, The Hague, the International Criminal Courts of The Hague, has fast become the drop-off point for all the dodgy judges around the world. That's what do. When you stuff up in your own company, not to worry, in your own country, you can go and get a job in The Hague, in Belgium, wherever it is. I mean, it's just freaking absurd. I mean, you've got the assistant editor of the West Australian newspaper, Colleen Egan, writes a best-selling book about the corruption in this state. She names names. She goes to town on this town. And what happened? Nothing.
All right, mate, we've got about 3 minutes left. Is there anything you want to say to the people out there who are unsure or not really sure what you're all about? You want to sum up your mission, your focus now that you're out...
All I want to do is these 2 things, and if everybody did it in unison, the war would be over.
Got 3 minutes. 3 minutes.
3 minutes. focus on Israeli intelligence activity around the world and how they're putting their people in everywhere, every nook and cranny of every institution, of every level. They're training them up under Operation Talpiot, military intelligence. They are now called Silicon Wadi, not Silicon Valley. Silicon Wadi has become a technology juggernaut. The Intel's most advanced research and development factory is in Israel. In 2006 it opened up, okay? The latest router chips, the latest mobile phone chips, the latest whatever, it's all coming out of Israel. Hardware backdoors galore, okay? You focus on that. They're in military intelligence, they're running the computer systems, the databases, everything. The second thing is Jewish racial and religious supremacism. Do not separate Zionism from Judaism. They are one and the same. Political Zionism has its foundation in the philosophy and values of Judaism and the books of the Old Testament, the Tanakh, Old Testament, and also the books of the Shulchan Aruch and the Babylonian Talmud. When you understand this, okay, they quote from these books today. They're 3,000 years old. They quote from today. Slaughter everyone. Anyone gets in your way, kill them. They quote from it today in Palestine. If you want to understand, look at their books. Look at what they do. When you get that link, you'll understand. Focus on those two issues, and the Israeli state is dead and gone.
Do you think the WA government have a supremacy all of their own that they?
I think South African Jews are very comfortable in WA. I think they're very comfortable.
It's the same supremacy issue that they have that the Jews have. That they feel.
Yeah, but Native Australians don't have guns. That's the difference. They can't defend themselves. You know, they love it here because it's the same mindset. Literally, it's just nicer.
Well, thanks very much for your time, Brendon. I have enjoyed talking to you. I hope you've enjoyed being here.
I've enjoyed the therapy. It's all good therapy for me.
And I look forward to talking to you again.
Yeah, will do. Thanks, mate.
Take care.
Cheers.
Yet another interesting video featuring special guest Brendon O'Connell. Stay tuned for Brendon TV Part 3 coming soon. That's all from me for now. God bless and ciao for now.